Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different in this video. Today I'm going to be doing a would you rather video, but with a camping twist. I'm going to give myself 15 difficult camping related choices to make, but I'd also like you guys to join in as well and ask yourself, would you rather? And let me know in the comments which ones you'd choose. So we'll get the ball rolling with the first difficult decision. If you can only do one style of camping, would you rather go camping alone or with friends? As things stand, I tend to do a mix of solo camping as well as camping with friends and family. Each of those styles has different benefits for me. Solo camping is the number one thing that I do to sort my head out, just to clear my thoughts and recharge my batteries. I get that peace and quiet, and I'm just able to just absorb nature without any sort of distractions. But I love the social aspect of camping with friends and family, having a good catch up, good food and a few beers around a campfire in a bushcraft situation. It's a really difficult one. If I had to ultimately make a decision, it would be camping with friends and family, because I can still get those moments of peace and quiet, and I always come back recharged and buzzing no matter what type of camping I do. Number 2 is tent related. If you can only have one, would you rather have a tent that's got integrated poles or a trekking pole tent? So that one's going to be a much easier decision for me to make. Although I use both styles of tent, most of the time I use a tent that comes supplied with poles. The trekking pole tents though do really come in handy when you're doing multi-day hikes, so I'm using trekking poles anyway. So using them as part of your structure for your tent makes sense really. It allows you to have a lighter weight shelter as well as a smaller pack size, and you do notice that when you're travelling greater distances with a lot of weight on your back. But in most of the situations where I go camping, a tent that comes with poles is a better option. They tend to be stronger in the wind, and in general you get a lot more space inside. And if you get a freestanding version, you can usually pitch up your tent anywhere, on a beach, on some rocks. You don't even need to peg it out. Right, number 3, this is probably going to be the toughest one for me to answer. Would you rather only ever use a gas stove or an alcohol stove? That's just something you can't make me choose. It's not fair. I've got quite a collection of stoves. Gas stoves, alcohol stoves, wood stoves. I just love stoves. I use different ones for different things. I would say the majority of the time I'm using an alcohol stove just to boil water for dehydrated meals, having a cuppa. It's so peaceful and quiet. It works every time. And that little flame flickering gives you the sense of a campfire, I think. But a gas stove is really convenient. It boils water a lot quicker. You get a lot more control of the flame as well, which for me personally works better when I'm cooking. So if I'm using a frying pan cooking a steak, I usually get better results on a gas stove than I do on an alcohol stove. First world problems, eh? Having to make a choice which kind of stove you can use. My head tells me that gas stove gives me more cooking options, but my heart says alcohol stove. You got to listen to your heart, haven't you? So I want to go with alcohol stove. It's my favourite type. Let me know in the comments which is yours. So before we tackle number 4, I want to thank Squarespace, who's kindly sponsored the video today. Squarespace has got all the tools so you can create a professional looking website all by yourself. So I've been using Squarespace for 3 or 4 years. I simply chose one of their ready-made templates, and then I uploaded my own photos, added some text and just moved things around a little bit. And within a couple of hours I had a website. Squarespace platform's got loads of different features. Jo uses her websites to sell her artwork and paintings. I've used mine to promote my YouTube channel, sell some old unwanted camping gear. You've got the option of doing everything from your computer, but also you can make edits and stuff using the mobile phone app. There's hundreds of different features. You can upload videos, send out newsletters, set up memberships, check your analytics. So whatever you want a website for, Squarespace has got you covered. So if you fancy having a go at building a website of your own, then click the link in the description below or head over to squarespace.com/Paul Messner. You'll get a totally free trial, and when you're ready to go live, you'll get 10% off your first purchase. Right, moving on to number 4. Would you rather only use a sleeping bag or only use a quilt? So it's no secret that I'm a huge fan of the backpacking quilt. But if I had to narrow it down to one, I'd actually rather have a sleeping bag. I can always open that up and use it as a quilt. For those really cold situations, I actually prefer a sleeping bag. You can cut out all of the drafts. Quilts are lighter and packed down smaller, and they give me a lot more freedom of movement as well. But this is would you rather, and I can only have one, so sleeping bag for me. Number 5, would you rather only be able to go camping in the Lake District or camping in the Peak District? That one's quite easy for me. Although I do love the Lake District. I was in Snowdonia the other day, not camping, but up on Snowdon. And Scotland is beautiful, but for me the Peak District feels more like home. It's close by, I can get there in 20 minutes. I'm very familiar with the area, and I'm one of these people that probably likes creature of habit and likes to know where he's going. It's comforting knowing where you are and a little bit unnervy not knowing what lies ahead. I must admit though, the Lake District's stunning and has got a bit more variety, I think. Number 6 is sleeping pads. Would you rather have a Thermarest X-Therm or a Sea to Summit Comfort Light? I've got quite a few different sleeping pads, and it's more about the design of the pad itself for me when it comes to comfort than it is about price tag, logo, brand. My Thermarest are the most expensive one I've got, but you're paying for that warmth to weight ratio, so it packs really small and it's incredibly warm. But the baffles, when they go horizontally across, I just don't get a comfortable night's sleep. I sleep much more comfortably on sleeping pads that have either got the little pockets like on the Sea to Summit, or the vertical baffles like my X-Bed or my Flextail. Flextail's arguably my most comfortable pad, but it's a bit thick and bulky. A Sea to Summit could do with being a little bit thicker, but it's so versatile. You can fold it over various different shapes, use it as a chair, which I can't do with my X-Bed or my Flextail, but I can with a Thermarest. But I have to take something with it, a little trekker chair, and it's just not quite as easy to do as it is with a Sea to Summit. So I'm going to choose, I would rather have the Sea to Summit than an X-Therm from Thermarest. Personal preference though, sleeping pads. I know people that use Thermarest and they've never had a problem sleeping. Number 7, this one's probably the easiest one to answer. Would you rather have comfortable gear or lightweight gear? Now, I've been down the route of trying to cut all the weight down on the gear. There's no point when you're carrying a big belly on your front anyway, but it's just not as comfortable for me. You can get sleeping pads that are 1/8 of an inch thick. I don't sleep a wink on them. Lightweight tends to be less durable, and as you're cutting things out, you tend to not take things. Whereas nowadays, I'll just take something that is a little bit of a luxury. Camping's meant to be fun and comfortable. I don't want it to be a chore, so comfort wins every time for me. But there are 1 or 2 occasions when you're doing multi-day hikes that you just have to strike a balance between the two. You still want to be comfortable enough to sleep and have all the things that you need to get through your trip, but you don't want to be carrying lots of weight either. Number 8, would you rather have a Hillberg Gunner or a Hillberg Solo? I've had both. I got rid of the Solo and now I've got the Gunner. But would I swap it for the Solo? Only in very rare situations. If the wind is incredibly extreme, then I'd rather be in the Solo. But that's the only time, I think. Other than that, for me personally, the Gunner just works better. It's got more space inside. Although there isn't a really big vestibule, I can make it so I've got lots of space for wet gear, for getting changed, and for cooking in. The Solo does have 1 or 2 other tricks up its sleeve other than the wind. I think it's easier to put up and put down, especially in challenging conditions, because you can build it up from the ground. I'm not saying for a minute that the Gunner is a better tent, it just works better for me. So I would rather have that. We're on number 9 already. Would you rather do the West Highland Way or the Cumbria Way? Both of them are beautiful. Quite different as well. So although the West Highland Way is further, it's actually easier terrain, I think. Cumbria Way had steeper sections and it was a bit harder underfoot at times, but I would rather do the West Highland Way. And the main reason for me was the camaraderie. There was loads of other people doing it, and the Cumbria Way, you might be on your own for pretty much most of the trip, but the West Highland Way, you met lots of people and you followed them along. So you passed them and you talked to them, they'd pass you and they'd talk to you again. You'd meet them at the campsites. Lots of people encouraging you. You know, when you were struggling a little bit, and you needed a little bit of support. So for that reason, I'd rather do the West Highland Way. Number 10, would you rather camp on summits or camp on lower ground? I'm assuming then that lower ground means woodland, means valleys, means at the side of lakes and tarns. And the summit, it's right on the top, getting blown all over. That's a tough one actually, because although the views from the top are usually the best, usually means that you've got a less comfortable night, especially if it's windy. If you get it right, like when we were on the summit of Helvellyn, me and Steve Paxton, the conditions when we woke up the following morning were incredible. And I don't think you can beat that. So I'm going to choose, I would rather camp on the summit. But that contradicts one of my earlier choices, because most of the time on the summit, I'm on my own. I wouldn't be able to do the friends and family camping. That's it, changed my mind. I'd rather camp that little bit lower, but have the option to camp with friends and family. Number 11, insulation. Would you rather only be able to use down insulation or synthetic insulation? I'm wearing a synthetic jacket now, but most of my quilts and sleeping bags are all down insulation, and my puffy jackets that I wear when I'm trying to get out of the cold are usually down as well. They pack really small, and the warmth to weight ratio is better than synthetic, although things are changing a little bit. Some of these new modern synthetic technologies are getting a lot better, as well as, you know, manufacturers like Rab are putting like a tilt technology in there as well to bump up the warmth ratio. So I think going forward, synthetic is going to be the way to go. So it's more future proof. Keep seeing things climbing up the trees, squirrels. I'm going to go synthetic just because, yeah, it is future proof. And it's probably better ethically as well. But I still don't think we're quite there yet when it comes to warmth to weight ratio. Number 12, fresh or dehydrated food. So, as a lot of you may know, I do like having a steak when I'm camping. I like the odd bit of salmon and asparagus, mushrooms, but I also do multi-day trips. So on the West Highland Way, for example, I couldn't carry a fridge on my back and have lots of fresh produce. So you know, do you include things like rice? My rice is dehydrated, isn't it? You just boil it, cook it. It's going to have to depend on the definition, because even things like salami, jerky, the real foods, sort of. Salami, I'm not so sure. But jerky is definitely real food. But that's how they used to preserve meat back in the day, for the same reasons that you didn't have refrigerators back then, or you know, you couldn't just pop into Tesco's everywhere. You had to make food last somehow. Yeah, if I could only have one, I would probably choose real food, is what I'm going to say. So it's not these things that you buy in the packets, the, you know, Summit to Eats or whatever they're called, and adventure foods and stuff like that. I'd much rather have steak all of the time, but you know, for multi-day stuff, I would probably still have to, if I wasn't using those, boil rice or something like that, and then maybe some jerky in it. I'd rather have real food every day of the week. Number 13. Would you rather wear boots or trail runners? Now, some of you may know that I don't wear conventional footwear anymore. Well, I say anymore. I've had a pair of trainers on probably 3 times now in the last 18 months. But other than that, it's either a trail runner or it is a barefoot shoe or boot. I really do like these barefoot boots, but they've got no cushioning at all. And if I was wearing these on the West Island Way or the Cumbria Way, I'd have been in tatters. I just wouldn't have got through it. The way my feet are at the moment, they're still not fully transitioned to wearing this style of footwear. So at the moment, I'd probably have to say trail runners. Although I'd have to come up with some sort of waterproofing and colder weather option. That's the thing, if you've only got one, if you're only allowed one thing, you sometimes have to choose your situations to go out camping or hiking. You know, if you can only have one tent and it's a summer tent, you don't go camping in the winter. You might just have to make some tough choices. Same with footwear. If it is really wet and muddy, but go watch Stephen Reed's videos, Run with Steve or Stephen J. Reed. Now he's getting out there up to his knees in trail runners, knees in mud, water. He's just not bothered. The quick drying, but if it's winter, you probably know about it. So I'm still gonna go trail runners anyway. That's my choice. What do you think? I know a lot of people like a traditional boot. Something like a Scarpa or something like that. It's all opinions, isn't it? Right, number 14. Would you rather only go camping in the wind or only go camping in the rain? I tend to get both, which can be quite challenging, but also it's quite nice to be tucked away inside your tent, protected from the elements. You know, when you've got that howling wind, when the wind is really battering your tent, you don't always get a good night's sleep. But you know, which would I rather have? I think it would. Both of them have the challenges, don't they? I choose rain. I'd rather be camping in the rain than in the wind. It just makes it's a little bit safer. It's easier for filming in as well. It's easier to sleep in. Just the sound of rain on your fly sheet. Very therapeutic. Rain. I'd rather have rain. But not today though. I haven't brought anything waterproof with me. And last but not least, number 15. Would you rather go camping in summer or autumn? I've already said I love autumn. I just love these colours. Fabulous carpet of golden leaves. And I love camping in autumn as well, but like the clocks have just gone back this week, so it's going to be dark before 5 o'clock. So this is the point where you're spending long hours inside your tent. You know, from now till probably March, something like that. You know, you can be 14 hours locked inside a little tiny 1-man, 2-man tent. You tend to get less bugs as well in the autumn, which is nice. And if there's a sunset or a sunrise, you're going to get a chance to see it. You know, in the summer, sometimes you've got to set your alarm for 4 a.m. just in the hope of getting a glimpse of the sun rising. I love both, but I'm talking myself into it. I'd rather go camping in autumn. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of my choices and your reasons why. But that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.